In the quiet town of Willowbrook, nestled between rolling hills and dense forests, there was a tale whispered among the locals, a tale of an old, decrepit bus that roamed the roads at night, driven by an unseen presence. They said it was cursed, haunted by the spirits of those who had met tragic ends on its journey. Legend had it that the bus, known as the Midnight Rider, was once a normal school bus used to transport children to and from Willowbrook Elementary. One fateful night, during a terrible storm, the bus veered off the winding road and plunged into the ravine below, claiming the lives of all the children on board. From that night on, the bus was said to be haunted, its rusting frame a vessel for vengeful spirits seeking to trap more souls. On the outskirts of town, a group of adventurous teenagers gathered one chilly autumn night, their breath visible in the crisp air. Their names were Matt, Sarah, Alex, and Emma, and they were drawn together by a shared fascination with the supernatural. They decided to investigate the legend of the Midnight Rider. Armed with cameras, flashlights, and their courage, they ventured out onto the winding highway as the clock struck midnight, the moonlight casting eerie shadows on the deserted road. The air was heavy with the scent of damp leaves and impending rain. As they approached an overgrown path, they spotted the bus, its windows shattered and its body covered in rust. Bravely, they climbed aboard, their footsteps echoing eerily in the empty silence. The interior was a mess, with torn seats and broken glass strewn across the floor. Despite the chill outside, the air inside the bus was stifling, as if the spirits within were breathing down their necks. Ignoring the ominous atmosphere, they began their investigation, asking questions and taking pictures in the hope of capturing evidence of the supernatural. Suddenly, the temperature dropped further, and an icy wind howled through the bus, slamming the doors shut with a deafening bang. The group was plunged into darkness, their flashlights flickering weakly. A disembodied voice echoed through the bus, whispering their names in a sinister tone. Fear gripped their hearts, and they clung to each other in terror. Out of the darkness emerged the ghostly figures of children, their pale faces twisted in agony and sorrow. They reached out with spectral hands, their touch sending shivers down the spines of the teenagers. The spirits spoke in unison, telling a tale of betrayal and anguish, revealing how they had been lured onto the bus by a malevolent force, never to escape its clutches. Desperate to escape the vengeful spirits, the group tried to force open the bus doors, but they were stuck fast. The children's cries grew louder, filling the air with a cacophony of sorrow and rage. Shadows danced on the walls, contorting into monstrous shapes that seemed to feed on the fear of the trapped teenagers. Just as hope began to wane, Sarah remembered a charm her grandmother had given her, a talisman said to protect against malevolent spirits. With trembling hands, she clutched the charm and chanted an incantation passed down through generations. A blinding light enveloped the bus, forcing the vengeful spirits to retreat with anguished wails. When the light faded, the bus doors creaked open, releasing the trapped teenagers. They stumbled out into the cold night, gasping for air and covered in cold sweat. The Midnight Rider, once a vessel of horror, now sat silent and motionless, as if the spirits had finally found peace. The teenagers never spoke of that night again, their minds scarred by the horrors they had witnessed. The legend of the Midnight Rider lived on, a cautionary tale for those who dared to explore the unknown. And deep within the heart of Willowbrook, the bus remained, a chilling reminder of the darkness that could consume even the bravest souls. In a small, isolated town nestled deep within the dense woods, there was an old, rickety bus that the locals referred to as the Phantom Bus. The vehicle had seen better days, its once vibrant colors now faded, and its windows covered in a thick layer of grime. Despite its decrepit appearance, the Phantom Bus had an eerie allure that drew the curiosity of those who dared to approach it. Legend had it that the bus was haunted, cursed by the souls of passengers who had met a tragic end during a terrible accident years ago. No one could quite recall the specifics of the incident. It had become a mere whisper in the town's history, but the fear associated with the Phantom Bus was very real. On a particularly foggy and moonless night, a group of adventurous teenagers decided to investigate the legend of the Phantom Bus. Their names were Jack, Sarah, Emily, and Mike. They were brave, or perhaps foolish, enough to ignore the warnings of the townsfolk and venture into the heart of the woods to find the infamous bus. As they approached the overgrown path leading to the bus, the air grew cold and heavy. The forest seemed to come alive with unsettling whispers, and the wind carried eerie, disembodied laughter. Ignoring their growing unease, the group pressed on. When they finally reached the clearing where the phantom bus was rumored to appear, they were met with an unsettling sight. The bus stood there, its interior engulfed in an otherworldly, pulsating light that seemed to emanate from within. Jack, the bravest of the group, approached the bus cautiously and pushed open the rusty door. To their surprise, the inside of the bus looked pristine, as if frozen in time. The seats were plush and comfortable, the windows crystal clear, and the air carried a faint scent of roses. Intrigued, the group decided to board the bus, their curiosity overpowering their fear. As soon as they settled into their seats, the bus roared to life on its own, its engine growling like a hungry beast. The doors slammed shut, trapping them inside. The bus began to move, its tires screeching against the gravel as it hurtled down the narrow, winding roads of the forest. Panic set in among the teenagers as they realized they were not in control. The bus seemed to have a mind of its own, taking them on a terrifying journey through the heart of the haunted woods. The trees outside twisted and contorted, their branches reaching out like skeletal fingers, attempting to snatch the bus and its occupants. Inside the bus, the atmosphere grew suffocating. Unearthly whispers filled the air, telling tales of sorrow and despair. Shadows danced on the walls, taking on grotesque shapes that seemed to mock the passengers. Sarah let out a scream as she saw a ghostly figure sitting in the seat next to her, its hollow eyes staring into her soul. Desperation gripped the group as they tried to find a way out. They pounded on the windows, but they wouldn't break. The doors were sealed shut, trapping them in the nightmarish bus. Emily pulled out her phone to call for help, but there was no signal, only an unsettling static that seemed to amplify the feeling of dread. Hours passed, although it felt like an eternity. The bus finally came to a halt in a clearing deeper in the woods. Outside, the darkness was absolute, the only illumination coming from the bus itself. The air was thick with an unnatural silence, broken only by the distant howls of unseen creatures. As the teenagers stepped out of the bus, they found themselves in a graveyard unlike any other. Tombstones stretched as far as the eye could see, their inscriptions worn away by time. The air was heavy with the scent of decay, and an oppressive sense of foreboding hung in the air. Suddenly, the ground beneath them began to tremble, the graves split open, and ghastly figures emerged from the earth. They were the souls of the long dead, their eyes empty voids, and their limbs twisted and mangled. The teenagers watched in horror as the ghostly figures surrounded them, their wailing cries filling the night. With nowhere to run, the group huddled together, hoping that the nightmare would end. Just as they thought they were doomed, a blinding light enveloped them. A mysterious figure appeared, clad in tattered robes and carrying a staff adorned with glowing runes. The figure raised their staff, and the ghostly apparitions recoiled, their cries growing weaker. With a powerful incantation, the mysterious stranger banished the vengeful spirits back to their graves. The ground sealed shut, leaving no trace of the horrifying ordeal. The figure turned to the teenagers and revealed themselves to be a guardian spirit, tasked with protecting the living from the malevolent forces that roamed the woods. They explained that the phantom bus was a cursed vessel, bound to the souls of the deceased, and it could only be appeased by facing the fears of those who dared to enter. With a final warning, the guardian spirit vanished into the night, leaving the shaken teenagers in the darkness. They made their way back to the town, forever changed by their encounter with the phantom bus and the supernatural forces that lurked within the haunted woods. From that day on, the legend of the phantom bus served as a cautionary tale, a reminder of the dangers that awaited those who dared to venture into the unknown. And the bus itself, now a mere rusted relic, stood as a chilling reminder of the horrors it had once unleashed upon the world, waiting silently for the next unsuspecting soul to stumble upon its cursed path. In the quiet town of Willowbrook, there was a bus unlike any other. It was known as Bus 666, a number that sent shivers down the spines of the locals. The bus was old, its windows tinted with a layer of grime that made it impossible to see inside. Its engine roared with an otherworldly intensity, and its headlights glowed like malevolent eyes in the darkness. One foggy October night, a group of unsuspecting passengers boarded Bus 666. They were a diverse bunch, a young couple, a weary businessman, a curious teenager, and an elderly woman. As the bus rumbled to life, they settled into their seats, unaware of the horrors that awaited them. The bus driver, an eerie figure cloaked in shadows, never spoke a word. Instead, he guided the bus through the winding roads with an unnatural precision. The passengers felt a strange unease. as if the bus itself was alive, with a sinister purpose. As the night deepened, the bus deviated from its usual route, venturing into the heart of the dense, forbidding forest that surrounded Willowbrook. The atmosphere inside the bus grew tense, the air thick with an unexplainable dread. Suddenly, the bus came to a halt, its brakes screeching in the eerie silence. Outside, in the pitch-black forest, the passengers heard whispers, faint voices carried by the wind. They couldn't make out the words, but the tone was unmistakably sinister. The young couple clung to each other, the businessman wiped sweat from his brow, the teenager's eyes widened in fear, and the elderly woman clutched her rosary beads, praying fervently. The bus doors creaked open, revealing nothing but darkness beyond. A cold wind swept through the bus, extinguishing the feeble light inside. The passengers were engulfed in a suffocating blackness, their screams drowned out by the unholy whispers that surrounded them. One by one, the passengers disappeared into the darkness, their terrified cries echoing through the night. The bus driver remained silent, his eyes glowing with an otherworldly light. The bus itself seemed to absorb the fear and despair of its victims, becoming stronger with every soul it claimed. Days turned into nights, and Bus 666 continued its haunting journey, roaming the streets of Willowbrook like a vengeful spirit. The townsfolk whispered tales of the cursed bus, warning others to stay away. But curiosity got the better of some, and they, too, fell victim to the malevolent force that dwelled within. The once thriving town of Willowbrook became a ghost town, its streets empty, its buildings decaying. The legend of Bus 666 lived on, a cautionary tale told in hushed tones, and every now and then, on a foggy October night, the distant rumble of an engine could be heard, a chilling reminder of the horrors that lurked in the darkness. And so, the tale of Bus 666 became a macabre legend, a story passed down through generations, a warning to those who dared to venture into the unknown, a reminder that some mysteries were better left unsolved, and some buses were best avoided, especially if they bore the number 666. In the small, secluded town of Willowbrook, there was a legend whispered among the locals. It was a chilling tale that sent shivers down the spines of those who dared to speak its name, the legend of the haunted highway and the ghost bus. The haunted highway stretched for miles, cutting through dense, ominous forests and desolate fields. On moonless nights, when the air was thick with an eerie silence, the ghost bus was said to appear. No one knew where it came from or where it went, but its presence was unmistakable. It was an old, decrepit school bus, its once yellow exterior now tarnished and covered in a thick layer of dust and grime. Its windows were shattered, the remnants of glass like sinister teeth grinning in the darkness. The story began decades ago when a group of children, aboard the very same bus, vanished without a trace. Some said they had run away, while others believed they had met a more sinister fate. As the years passed, strange occurrences plagued Willowbrook. Unexplained shadows danced in the night, and whispers of long-lost laughter echoed through the wind. It was as if the spirits of the missing children lingered, seeking something that could never be found. One fateful night, a curious teenager named Emma decided to unravel the mystery of the ghost bus. Armed with determination and a flashlight, she ventured onto the haunted highway. The darkness enveloped her as she approached the spot where the bus was rumored to appear. The air grew colder, and the distant hoot of an owl added to the eerie ambience. Just as the clock struck midnight, the ghost bus materialized before her eyes. Its rusty wheels creaked as it came to a halt, the sound sending chills down Emma's spine. Hesitating for only a moment, she climbed aboard, her heart pounding in her chest. Inside, the atmosphere was suffocating, a mixture of dampness, mold, and the lingering scent of decay. Shadows danced on the walls as if the ghosts of the past were reliving their final moments. Emma pressed on, determined to uncover the truth. As she explored the bus, she found tattered backpacks and forgotten toys strewn across the seats. Each item seemed to hold a fragment of the children's lost lives, their innocence frozen in time. Emma's flashlight flickered, casting eerie shadows that seemed to dance to a haunting melody. Suddenly, a voice whispered in her ear, sending her heart into a frenzied panic. "Help us," it murmured, barely audible above the wind's mournful wail. Emma turned, her flashlight illuminating the translucent figures of the missing children. Their eyes were hollow, their faces etched with sadness and longing. Driven by compassion, Emma vowed to free their trapped souls. With trembling hands, she recited an ancient incantation she had found in an old, dusty book. The air crackled with energy as the words filled the bus, lifting a curse that had bound the children for decades. In an instant, the bus was engulfed in blinding light, and a powerful gust of wind swept through the haunted highway. When the light subsided, the ghost bus was gone, and in its place stood the children alive, but with memories of their spectral imprisonment etched into their souls. Emma returned to Willowbrook with the children, their presence a testament to her bravery and compassion. The town, once plagued by fear, found solace in their return. The haunted highway, once a symbol of terror, became a reminder of the power of courage and kindness. But the legend of the ghost bus lived on, a cautionary tale passed down through generations, and on particularly dark nights, when the wind howled through the trees and the shadows seemed to come alive, the townsfolk would glance toward the haunted highway, half expecting to see the flicker of headlights and hear the distant rumble of wheels. The ghost bus, a memory of the past, forever imprinted on the town's history.